Okay, it's about that time for us to get started. Yay! I hope you are having a wonderful Wednesday. It is freezing here. I don't know what's going on with Michigan Spring, but they need to do better. So let me go. Hello, Marilyn. Did you get my email? And did my explanation make sense? Okay, thanks for answering your question. Cool. I'm glad it made sense. Hello, Anita. So, guess what, guys? We have new questions. I had some people asking me about contract acceptance, so I was like, "Hey, uh, Claude, y'all know I like to use Claude. You know what? I didn't even check to make sure all the answers aren't the same thing. But let's see. Let's see what we got here. I've always got to remember, tell Claude to make sure the answers aren't always one thing. But all right, here we go. This is all about contracts. Question one. A buyer submits a written offer to purchase a home. The seller signs the acceptance on Tuesday morning, but places the signed document in the desk drawer without telling anyone. On Tuesday afternoon, the buyer calls the seller and revokes the offer. All right, so you all know I like to do a little um like a wall of separation. So on one side, you're going to have a buyer, and then they'll have a, let's call it a buyer, and there'll be a broker, and then there'll be an agent, and then there'll be a seller, and there will be a broker, and there will be an agent. So we know this to be true, and I like to draw it out. So obviously, a buyer would have given the offer to their agent. The agent would have given it to the seller's agent, and then the seller's agent would have given it to the seller, assuming there was an agent involved. Maybe there wasn't. And hello, Miss Carolyn Ross, 67, and just, over there in my YouTube land. Anyway, going on. So the seller signs and then puts it in a drawer. Well, we know in order to be under contract, it's not good enough that you just sign it. You need to sign it, and you got to tell somebody on the other side of the wall of separation that you actually did sign it, and now you're under contract. And if putting it in the drawer is not helping anybody. So it's even though the seller has signed it, this seller is not under contract. We know that. So now let's look at our answer choices. A, the contract was formed when the seller signed. Nope. B, no contract exists because acceptance was never communicated to the buyer. I like that one. C, a contract exists because the seller acted in good faith. Good faith doesn't get you anywhere, except disappointed. And D, the contract is voidable but not void. So we know our answer, in fact, is B. All right. We like this? Yes. Oh, I see y'all getting the right answers here. B, B, B. Look, okay. Maybe y'all didn't need the contract questions. We'll see how it goes. Mhm. Okay, let's try our next question. A buyer offers $250,000 for a property. The seller responds in writing, offering to sell at 260. That to me sounds like a counter offer, which we know is a permanent rejection of the other offer, and then the seller saying, "Oh, how about this instead?" So it's a rejection plus a new offer. Seller responds in writing, offering to sell at 260. The buyer says she needs to think about it. Before the buyer responds, the seller changes her mind and signs the buyer's original offer at 250. What is the legal status? Is it A, a contract was formed at 250,000? B, a contract was formed at 260,000 because the buyer didn't reject the counter offer? C, the original $250,000 was offer was terminated when the seller made the counter offer? Or D, the seller may accept either price. Okay, y'all seem pretty strong about the answer being C, and you are 100% correct. That counter offer is a rejection plus a new offer. All right. I see y'all. I see all what you're doing here. Mm-hmm. Question number 3. A buyer signs an offer to purchase a property and delivers it to the seller. Before the seller signs and communicates acceptance, the buyer dies in an accident. What is the legal effect? Oh, Crystal, I just saw somebody said to your C. I'm sorry, y'all. You know what? I didn't even notice that you all had done it. I said C. My brain is all scrambled, but I know when you all say, I've got to give you.
I like carrots, and you should too. It goes crunch, 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 and it's good for you.
We like carrots.
And you should too. It goes crunch, crunch, crunch.
We love it. We love the crunch of the carrots. Ooh, and today I made corn, y'all. I did the whole grandma thing. I woke up missing my grandma. I had to go in and, take the corn off the cob and put it and slow cook it in the butter on the pan. It was delicious. It still made me miss my Grammy. But, whichever. But it was delicious. Okay, number 3. Let's just read it again. A buyer signs an offer to purchase a property and delivers it to the seller. Before the seller signs and communicates acceptance. That's a key point here, right? Because if the seller hasn't signed and they haven't signed and said that they've signed, communicated that, then that's still an offer. The buyer dies in an accident. What is the legal effect? A, the buyer's estate must complete the purchase. B, the offer automatically terminates upon the buyer's death. C, the seller may still accept and bind the buyer's estate. Or D, the contract is binding because the offer was in writing. Okay, we got lots of B. Oh, I see y'all. I'm bringing home a baby, a bumblebee. Won't my mama be so proud of me? I see y'all with the answer B. The offer automatically terminates. Yes. Now, usually when we see this word automatically, I freak out. I'm like, oh, Lord. But not in this instance. We like the automatically here. And this is where, we're trying to get in the habit of, okay, what do I know about offers and contracts and agency and what happens when somebody dies? So we know if we're talking about death, if it's an agency contract and the client dies, then the contract is over. If it's an offer and one of the parties dies, the offer is over. But if it's a contract and one of the parties dies, then it still stands. We know death does not terminate our purchase contracts. Right? It would terminate an agency contract. You as the agent can't represent a dead person. And if there's only an offer that hasn't been signed and accepted, when that person who made the offeror dies, that offer is over. But if the contract has been signed and communicated and we're under contract, death of either party will not terminate that contract. What are the chances you're going to be tested on this concept? Like 120%. You're going to be tested on whether or not somebody is under contract, because that's a lot of what we do in sales of residential. All right, let's try number 4. A seller makes a written offer to sell a parcel of land and promises to keep the offer open for 7 days. I feel like that could be important. No money or consideration is exchanged for this promise. On day 3, before the buyer accepts, the seller revokes the offer. Is the revocation effective? So the question is asking us, can the seller revoke their offer? All right. So the seller is actually giving an offer to a buyer. Hey, I'm willing to sell you my land. And that is really important to talk about, because I think just in the everyday of it all, People assume that buyers are always the ones giving offers first, and then the seller, counters or accepts. Not always true. When we were in a recession, 2008, 9, 10, I was practicing. Sellers had their houses on the market for so long. They're like, hey, we saw you visited. You want to buy it? We'll give you an offer. How about this? So it does happen that way. So they said they were going to keep the offer open for 7 days, but since there was no money or consideration exchanged, you can't force the seller to do anything. So is it A? No, because the seller promised to hold the offer open for 7 days. Well, you can't force them to do anything. There was no contract. B, because the offer was in writing. Once again, doesn't matter if the offer is in writing, there's no contract. C, yes, because no consideration was paid to create an option contract. I like that. And D, yes, but only if the buyer agrees. Nope. Our answer is C. All right. Let's do our next one. You all are doing good on this. I love it. A buyer mails a written offer to a seller. On Monday at 10 a.m., the seller drops a signed acceptance into the mailbox. At 2 p.m. that same Monday, before the acceptance arrives, the buyer mails a revocation. Under the traditional mailbox rule, when was a contract formed? All right, so let's just draw our little line here. We know there's a buyer, and then there's going to be a broker, and then there's an agent, and then there's a seller, and there's a broker, and there's an agent. So what do we have here? The buyer mails a written offer to the seller. Put it in the mail. On Monday at 10 a.m., the seller dropped a signed acceptance in the mail. So they signed, and then they dropped it in the mail at 10 a.m. on Monday. Are we under contract at that point? Yeah, because of the mailbox rule. Even though in the year of 2026, or like I like to say, Blue Ivy's internet, we know that there's no reason why you as agents should be using the mailbox rule. Absolutely no reason whatsoever. But are we going to test you on it? Yes. And we know that the mailbox rule says, oh, the minute you dropped it in the mail, not when it gets postmarked, not when the person reads it, but the second it gets dropped into the mailbox, or you put it in the hands of UPS or FedEx or whatever it is you're using, as soon as the person giving it to the mail system has let go, we consider that a communication of acceptance. And remember, this only works for offers. You can't do revocations this way. You can't do any. This whole mailbox rule is just about acceptance of offers. So looking at that, that would be our answer B, when the seller deposited the acceptance in the mail, right? It's not about when the buyer mailed the revocation, because they can try to revoke, but they can't because there's no longer an offer. It's a contract. It became a contract the moment it went into the mail. Right? When the buyer actually receives the acceptance, has nothing to do with it. No contract was formed because the revocation was sent. Once again, no. Now, these questions, as long as you understand the mailbox rule, it's only for giving notification of I accepted your offer. These questions should go really well. And it's about who you mailed it to. Sometimes they try to trick y'all and they'll say, oh, the seller mailed it to their agent. We didn't cross the wall of separation, so that's not mailing it to the other side. You got to mail it to the other side, right? So don't lose your points on that one. There we go. All right. Number 6. A seller verbally agrees to sell a residential property to a buyer for $400,000, and they shake hands in front of 2 witnesses. The next day, the seller receives a higher offer and refuses to proceed. Can the buyer enforce the verbal agreement? Yes, oral contracts for real estate are enforceable with witnesses. B, yes, because a handshake is binding. C, because no, because contracts for the sale of real estate must be in writing to be enforceable. Or D, no, because the seller may choose the highest bidder. What say you? All right, number 6, we got a C. We got a C. Y'all are telling me C. We know that.
C is for cookie. That's good enough for me.
I do like a good cookie. I do. I do. I do. I do. But yes, our answer, in fact, is C, because a sale of real estate must be in writing to be enforceable. What's the name of that act or statute or law? What is the rule per se? What do we call that? That certain things must be in contract. Statute of frauds. Okay. I was going to say the fact that some contracts have to be in writing to be enforceable fraud. That is the statute of frauds. Nice. All right. Question number 7. A buyer's written offer states that closing will occur June 15th. The seller signs the offer, but crosses out June 15th and writes in June 30th and returns the signed document. Which best describes the legal effect? A binding contract was formed with closing on June 30th. B, a binding contract was formed with closing on June 15th. C, the seller's modification is a counteroffer, not acceptance. Or D, the contract is binding, but the closing date is unenforceable. All right, you all are giving me that C for carrot again. Yes, number 7. Our answer is C. Whoop, whoop. Okay. Apparently you all got this down. I know I was asked to do some contract acceptance stuff, but I feel like y'all got this one now. Let's go ahead. We just got 3. Did I just do 3 more? Yeah, let's see. Question 8. In a typical real estate transaction, when is the purchase contract considered legally formed? In a typical real estate transaction, when is the purchase contract considered legally formed? A, when the buyer signs the offer. B, when the seller signs the acceptance. C, when the final signature is obtained and that acceptance is communicated to the other party. Or D, when the earnest money is deposited in escrow. I see y'all in my chat telling me that
I like carrots, and you should too. It goes crunch, 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 and it's good for you.
we like carrots.
And you should too. It goes
Crunch,
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 crunch. Yep. Now, I will say, obviously our answer is C here. When you've got 10 questions in a row about contracts, yeah, this is going to start to feel a little bit easy. But when you take the test, you got to make sure you know, okay, I know what an offer is. I know what acceptance is. I know it has to be signed and then communicated. And that word offer versus contract can change your question completely. All right, number 9. A 17-year-old enters into a written contract to purchase a small parcel of land from an adult seller. After signing, the minor changes his mind and wants out of the deal. What is the status of the contract? Okay. Well, remember, our answer is going to have 2. We have the California answer versus everybody else. Right? You got the California answer versus everybody else. So let's just do, let's just talk about it. Let's talk about it, right? If you're in California, the answer is A. It was void from the beginning because in California, minors can't sign contract, right? But if you're any place else, the answer would be B. If you're any place else besides California, as far as I know, California is only one, then our answer is it would be voidable. And it's the minor that can void it out. In fact, guys, I think this is a great time to ask Uncle Ray, where's my phone? If there are any other states besides California where if a minor signs, it would be void. Let's ask. Hey, Uncle Ray, I know in California, when I'm studying for the real estate exam, if a minor signs a contract, that contract is void. But in many other states, if a minor signs a contract, that contract would be considered voidable. Are there any other states besides California where a minor signing a contract, it would be void and not just voidable?
Hey there. So California is definitely known for that strict approach with minors, but generally speaking, most states follow the voidable route, meaning the minor can enforce or disaffirm it. I can't give you a comprehensive list of another state where it's outright void, because it's pretty rare outside of California. Most states do stick to voidable. If you're targeting a specific state, I can help you dig into that one.
All right, so it sounds like if you all could hear it, he said as far as he knows, and remember, Uncle Ray / ChatGPT is not perfect, but it sounds like we are good. It's just California that would have to understand that difference. Sweet. All right, our next question. An offer states that acceptance must be communicated by signed email no later than 5 p.m. Friday. The seller signs the offer and sends it by certified mail at 3 p.m. Friday. It arrives the following Monday. Is there a binding contract? Well, once again, we are testing that mailbox rule here. So if this seller put it in the mail by 3 p.m. on Friday, looks to me like he's under contract. This is a contract. So, yes, because the seller signed before the deadline. I mean, that's partially true. B, yes, because certified mail is a more reliable form of communication than email. C, no, because the seller did not accept by the method and within the time specified in the offer. Or D, no, because the acceptance must always be in person to be valid. All right, well, this is interesting. We got an offer. We have an offer, and that offer says it must be communicated by signed email no later than 5 p.m. So they did respond. We would be under contract, but then we got this, gosh darn it has to be signed by email. Bill. It's got to be communicated by email, I should say. And that's not what the seller did. So if we only went off the mailbox rule, yeah, but you didn't follow instructions. You did not follow instructions. So no, our answer would have to be, you're not under contract because you didn't do what I asked you to do in the time period. You can't, I told you if you want to do this, you have to do X, Y, and Z. So our answer is C. Our answer is C. Our answer is C. All right. It's been a while since we've just done some contract questions. Hopefully the person that asked for this, that's not usually at the lives, will see this recording and know we did them. But I wanted to take this time and see which topics you all wanted me to go over, because we did the 200 questions and that was great. We just did these contract questions. I did have somebody ask me just a randomly, how did I do my emails? Oh, you got confused on this because you get confused. Oh, okay. How do I create the questions I create? It's not a secret, y'all. I can show you on my computer how I do it. Or if there's a topic you all want me to go over, I'm open to anything. Because I had the 10 questions and I just wanted to give you all the opportunity to say, hey, Candace, this is what I want to talk about. So you all tell me. I'll give you a second. While you all are thinking about what you want to talk about, let me tell you all I'm working on another song video, and it is so dramatic and so much fun. I do. It's about 43,560, and I'm loving it. Nothing? Nobody has a topic you want me to go over? What? What? Agency or valuation? Okay. Agency or valuation. Put in your vote. Anybody, do we want just a review? Like, yes, I do these to answer questions, or I could come up with some questions, find some questions, or I can just kind of do a little mini review, your choice. So do we want to do questions? Do you want me to do a little mini lesson? Just a review. Okay, just a review on agency or just a review on valuation. You choose. And it doesn't matter if you think you need it or not. Do y'all have a preference? Just a review on agency. Agency, okay, 2 people for agency. Okay, well, then let's go over some agency. All right. So when I think of agency, I think there are 2 different paths that you're going to be tested on. Right? There's going to be basic agency law, and then there's going to be specific to your state agency questions. Right? You're gonna choose one of the 2. They're either gonna be basic agency law or there's gonna be stuff specific to your state. So when I talk about basic agency law, I'm talking about things like definitions. So we know no matter what type of agent you are, I don't care if you're a sports agent, I don't care if you're a real estate agent, attorney, anybody who acts as an agent, you know they have a fiduciary relationship there. And we know there's 3 different types of agency there. You could either be a universal agent, you could be a general agent, or you could be a special agent. We know that there's universal agent, there's general agent, there's special agent. And if you're in sales, you would be a special agent. If you're in property management, you're probably going to be a general agent, and universal agent is going to be like a power of attorney. So we know that. You had some areas, so I'm just looking at that you had some areas you need to review: the property disclosure, contracts and closing, agency, and real estate practice. Okay, so good. This agency covers you too, Miss Crystal. So you got this fiduciary relationship, which we know means trust. You know that you're either universal agent, you got general agency, you got special agency. And you know what might actually be easier if we did it this way? Boop-a-doop-a-doo. Boom. Here we go. Let's make sure everything on this sheet. So this is my study guide. I think most of you all have it. Okay, we got, as you can see here, universal agency. We got general agency. We got special agency. Well, how do we create agency? How is it created? It could be created expressly. That means it's either written or orally spelled out. You've had a conversation about it, it's in writing. Or it could be implied, right? So there's no express agreement. It's not stated or written. It's just we're taking it from your actions. Or it could be ratified, right? Which is this idea that your agency, somebody acted like your agent, and then after they acted like your agent, you went back and like, oh yeah, they're my agent. Right? So you've got how it's created, and then differently, we have the authorization of agency. This creates agency, and this is how you know what you're allowed to do. So you could either be expressly told, or it could be implied because of the actions, or it could be that you have the ability to do something and bind that client, or depending on what it is, through estoppel. So let's talk about what the difference is here. Right. Daisy, if you email me, and that's just, I'll put it here. It is Candace Ellis at Gmail. I can send you the link. All right, Candace Ellis at Gmail. So let's talk about this agency authorization. Right. Let's say that I hire Daisy, since I just talked to Daisy, I hire Daisy to be my property manager for a beach property. She's the property manager, she handles the rentals and the cash, and she does all that for me. We would have a signed agency agreement. A signed agency agreement. That's creating agency, obviously, expressly. And within that agency agreement, I would say, hey, I want you to manage my property. I'm expecting you to market it. I'm expecting you to lock the doors. I'm expecting you to collect the rent. So that would be in writing. Okay. Now, also in writing, I could say, during the winter on this beach property, one weekend a month, open the windows and air it out. That would be part of the contract. In the contract itself, I said, once a month, go ahead, open the windows, right? Open the windows. Now, what would be implied, even though I said, hey, once a month, I want you to open them, I don't have to say close them, lock them. Oh, and by the way, you have the ability to enter the house. It's implied. I want you to open them. I don't want you to keep them open. If you want you to do it once a month, that means eventually they have to be closed. And that means I needed you to go close them. And obviously I wanted you to lock them. And okay. And you can enter the house in order to do that. That would be implied. You have the authorization to close them and to lock them and to go into the house. We didn't talk about it, but it's implied. And then estoppel. Estoppel is the idea that, let's say I have a second house. I didn't get an express agreement on house number 2. I didn't get that express agreement, but over the years, I've let Daisy show it. I've let Daisy put people into the house and take rents. So we would have created this agency authorization through estoppel. It's created through words or actions, which would lead, the people that are renting that second house to believe, oh, you are my agent and you have permission to do everything. Estoppel is one of those confusing words, but you really just need to get an idea. It's agency created or authorization created from I don't want to say a mistake, but from behaviors. It's slightly different than implied. How much so? We don't care. I don't think you'd ever get a test question where it said implied versus estoppel. I think you're just going to have to know that those are important words. Okay. Now, in most states, you're going to have different types of real estate agency, and these can have different names. You got single agency, where the broker only works for the buyer or the seller, but not both. You got dual agency, where that broker is working for both the buyer and the seller. Now, if you're a North Carolina student, remember, for us in North Carolina, that would be the BIC or the firm, right? The firm, the person hired, the entity that's being paid. So in dual agency, that broker is working for both the buyer and the seller. And in some states, we know that dual agency is illegal. Possibly soon it could be illegal in North Carolina. That is what's on the table. We won't have a vote on it till later this year, but okay. Dual agency may be illegal, but a lot of places will say, you know what? You can do designated agency. That's a heart you just can't tell. Color that in, because I like designated agency. That's where the broker says, you got this broker. The broker is representing both the buyer and the seller, and they say, hey, agent A, You go work with the seller. And agent Z, you go work with the buyer. And this broker stays neutral. Right? They stay neutral. They stay in the middle, not giving any advice or information that could harm either side. That is designated agency, and some states practice that. Then in some states you have what's called a transaction broker or a facilitator. Facilitator. I don't know if I spelled that right. But this is where the agent isn't necessarily representing somebody as an agent. They don't owe all of those fiduciary duties. They're just bringing together the buyer and the seller. Now, I think that should pretty much cover all of your basic types of agency, even if it may be named a little bit differently. Right? And then if we're talking about seller agency, we know there's different ways for you to get paid. You could get a percentage of the sales price. You could, if it's not illegal, have a net listing. And a net listing is where if I, the seller, says to you, my listing agent, hey, seller's agent, I just want to I want to sell my property for $400,000. I just want to sell this for $400,000. And if you can sell it for more than $400,000, anything above that amount, that's your payment. So if you sell it for $400,000 and $1, then I guess you've earned a $1 payment. But if you sell it for $450,000, well, I guess you've earned a $50,000 payment. It really is just up to you how much you're going to sell it for. Now, net listings can be illegal in a number of states. For my North Carolina people, it's not illegal, but it is frowned upon, which means you shouldn't do it. But for everybody else, you want to look at your materials from your state and say, Oh, and randomly, speaking of you all, when we were in class on Sunday, I said I was going to make available the 200 question set that I went over this whole time. I'm going to put it on, the easiest way to distribute is put it on Etsy. And I'm going to give you all who listen to me, I'm going to give you a code. Let's come up with a code. Let's call it live. The code will be live YouTube. So live YT. You're going to see it go up, and that code is going to give it to you for free. I should charge y'all a couple dollars, but that's okay. Once I get that link, when you use it, it will get you all that free, and it'll be like for the first month or so. It's not up yet. I've got to finish some pictures to do the listing, but live YT. And if you really want to pay me for it, buy me one of those coffees. You know, when you go, you can do buy me a coffee /Candace. What is that address? I think it's just buy me a coffee /Candace. buymeacoffee.com/Candace. Anyway, you're welcome to do that. But this will be your code to get it for free once I put it up. Look for it in the next couple days. You can email me if you want those 200 questions and say, hey, Candace, I know the code. So if you ask me for the code, then I'll give it to you in the link and you all can just have it. All I would ask, though, is if you give a review on my Etsy channel, that'd be cool. That'd be cool, too. All right, sorry, that was off topic for a moment, but I did, and I want to make that available for you live, YouTube. You all will get that free, the 200 questions. And it'll have the answers the way Claude made them. All right, so back to compensation options. You got your percentage, you got a net listing, and then you could have like a limited listing or a flat rate. And that's basically you as the agent saying, look, seller, I'm not going to give you all the services, all the things. I'm going to basically put this in the MLS. That's it. You have questions about the offer you get, and that's going to cost you some money. Oh, you wanted flyers? That's going to cost you some more money. Oh, you want an open house? Guess what? That's going to cost you some money as well. So, I don't see anything wrong with that. If you're a seller who knows what you're doing, knock yourself out. But okay, just make sure you're comfortable with the whole other everything else. I think you're probably better off. I mean, you all are going to be real estate professionals, so that's fine. But it can work for some people in some scenarios. If you're well educated and you know what you're doing, cool. All right. Anything else we need to talk about with agency? I think we're good. Oh, how do you all feel about your types of listing agreements? You all know we've got I'm sick of blue. Let's do pink. You got your exclusive right to sell, our exclusive agency, and our open agency, right? Exclusive right to sell, you're going to get a commission regardless of who finds the buyer. So we know more words, more opportunities to get paid. We've got our exclusive agency. If the seller finds the buyer, then you aren't going to get paid a commission. Right? And then we have open agency, and the commission is only earned by the broker who finds the buyer. And there's not just one broker. Notice right here, let's change color. This one says exclusive. Oh, I meant to change colors. Gosh darn it. This one says exclusive agency. This one says exclusive agency. Open is the opposite. In either of the exclusive situations, there's only one listing broker. In an open situation, there could be lots of listing brokers, lots of different brokers doing open houses, but only the broker who finds the buyer is getting paid. So I think that's good. Do we have anything? Oh, look, I just have more and more in this little study guide. I'd be forgetting. All right, our fiduciary duties, we know that's obedience for O, loyalty, disclosure of all information, confidentiality, accounting, and reasonable skill and care. That's what you owe to your client. What you owe to your customer is fairness, honesty, and disclosure of material facts or material defects. Right? Good. You feel good about this? Yay! All right. I think that's it for the agency. Yeah. And then we get into fair housing. All right. That's our agency review. Did that help, Miss Anita? Okay, Nita said that did help. Marley said it helped. Good. Any other topics we want me to review quickly? Because otherwise what we'll do is we'll call it a short night, and then I'll come up. I guess we'll do another 200 questions. Is that what we want to do? I can do another 200 new questions. I mean, it's really not, not saying that but I don't mind. I love going over the questions with you. I would probably do a more advanced question thing. I could do some close, like fill in the blanks. It's up to you all. I do it for you. Okay, sounds good. It's your birthday Saturday. What, Caroline? Caroline, you know what, Caroline? You get the early birthday song.
Gracie's Corner. Hi, friend.
Ugh.
Today's a special day.
Hold on.
Because it's your birthday. Clap your hands, it's your birthday. Clap your hands, it's your birthday. Happy birthday to you. It's your birthday. Happy birthday to you. It's your birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Cha-cha-cha.
There you go. That is my favorite happy birthday song just for you, Caroline. Yay! All right. And I did have a request on Sunday. Can we go over property disclosure, contracts, closings? Oh, yeah, we can do contracts and closings. We kind of did contracts. We talked about contracts today. And then closings and real estate practice. Y'all want me to do a closing problem? I could do that on Sunday. We could do, let me write it down, maybe a seller and debit. Seller debit, seller credit. Let's see. We'll do on Sunday, seller and buyer credits and debits. We can do that, plus some new questions. Awesome. All right. Well, sorry I don't have more today, but we get to celebrate Miss Caroline's birthday early. Yes, I love it. You know what? On Sunday, I think I am going to keep it at 7 p.m. on Sundays. It's working out well. It's summertime, 7 p.m. on Sundays. That's Eastern, which will be 4 p.m. on PST, Pacific time. Oh, and I have a song video coming out, and I think I'm going to start doing some TikToks. So if I do it on TikTok, I'll probably I need to figure that out. I'm gonna have to give y'all a link if I do the TikToks. So there's that. Anyway, I've got tons of stuff to work on. I'm gonna get that video to you. It's about 43,560. I hope you love it. I hope this really does help. And you know what, guys? I will see you next time. Bye,
Okay, thank you.
everybody.
Bye, Candace.